I had to accept that I was gay and that I am gay. There are 7 billion people in the world, which means that there are 7 billion completely unique stories. And that means that you are completely unique. You have your very own story that only you can tell. I can only tell my story. I can't tell other people's stories. Only they can tell their own stories. You know, our stories have a unique power to either inspire us, move us, inspire others, move others, but they also have a unique power to scare us. You know, this is what my story did for almost my entire life. Up until about a year ago, it terrified me. It scared me so badly that I didn't want people to find out about it. I didn't want people to know about it. I didn't want them to ask me about it. I didn't want to tell people about it. I just wanted to stay in my room, hiding away from the entire world so they would never know my story. You know, my story starts out like a lot of people. I have 2 amazing parents who love me absolutely dearly. I have 4 brothers, 2 older and 2 younger, which makes me the middle child, which means I get blamed for everything. Now with that, I moved a lot as a child. I moved probably about 11 times in total. Grew up in College Station, Clear Lake, Michigan, Colorado. I grew up in a variety of places, but when I moved to Lake Jackson when I was about 9 or 10 years old, everything had been going pretty well up until that point. But like many of you know, you can have an amazing story that starts out the happiest story you could even think of, and then all of a sudden it takes a turn for the worse. While I lived in Lake Jackson, I went through a time where I was being sexually abused. From there, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I don't want to hover on that because that's not my entire story. That is a piece of my story, but it is not my entire story. Once I moved back to League City though, we entered into the public school system. And from there, even more trauma and abuse happened into my life, where I was now being physically and mentally abused by people in my life where that should have never happened in any way, shape, or form. You know, I went through 7th grade going into public school for the first time, not knowing what was going to happen, and automatically I was hit with bullying because people knew things about me that I didn't know about myself. I went into the public school system expecting it to be one way, and it was the complete other. I expected, you know, joy and happiness and getting to learn, but that is just not what happened in the school system for me. I was being bullied for something I didn't even know existed for my life, and something that I didn't want to exist for my life. And there's something that sometimes sits on the tip of your tongue, and you want to share that with people. You want to tell that to people, and you want them to experience that with you and live that with you. But you sit there in fear of what people are going to think, and you sit there in fear of what could potentially happen if you let that little secret spill. For the first 20 years of my life, I didn't do that. I just sat there holding it in, holding my breath, hoping that nobody would ever find out what was going on with me and what was happening in my life. With that portion of my story, there was something that had to change in order for me to become the person that I wanted to become. And you know, that thing is, I had to accept what was going on, what had happened, and what is going to happen in my future. There are very few things that we can actually control, but I can control myself, and I can control the way that I think about myself. I can control the way that I view about myself, just like you can control the way you think about yourself, the way that you speak about yourself, the way you think about yourself, and the way that you present yourself to other people. And that's what I had to focus on, is what I can control, but I also had to accept the things that I could not control. I had to accept that the abuse happened. I had to accept that there were things in high school that I wasn't ready to accept and that people knew about me. And moving forward, I had to accept that I was gay and that nobody really understood that about me. And I wasn't ready for people to understand that about me. I didn't want people to understand that, but I had to accept that about myself in order for me to go forward and be the person that I wanted to be. That's when the phrase came to me of today's the day. You know, there are certain days in our life that we look at as the day: wedding days, anniversary days, promotions, starting of a video that we look at as if nothing could possibly go wrong. And so when we look at each and every day as if it were the day, our lives are more fulfilled. Our lives are more enriched, and we can grow to be the person that we were meant to be. We can grow into the story that is being unfolded in front of us, and we can grow into the people that can then one day share our unique story with everybody that we come in contact with. And so this is what today's the day means for me.